Firstly, we visit Walhall Nursery in Aldenham, Hertfordshire. We'll be following Yvette Ayres, who works part-time, but keeps in constant contact with her colleagues in the nursery team, led by Cindy Willey, the head teacher. We'll see how she observes the children and how she reflects on their learning and development in order to plan for future learning experiences.
I dropped it in the bucket.
Orange paper.
As well as working with the foundation stage curriculum, the team at Walhall base their practice on schema, an approach to understanding children's learning through their patterns of play.
It's very comfortable.
At the nursery, there's a morning and an afternoon session, each with different children. The children are welcomed and introduced to the activities and experiences relating to the planned theme. These link to a particular schema.
But when we're looking for worms, we can't see what they look like underneath. Let me show
Today
you.
the theme is mini beasts, and the schema is enveloping, which relates to ideas about covering, surrounding and containing. Cindy prepares the children to go outside and look for worms in the garden.
We're going to dig them out and bring them inside and make a special home for them so we can look at them.
They're real ones.
We're going to bring the real ones inside to make a special home for them.
Cindy invites Huey to count worms.
Okay. Huey, you can be next. Can you remember how many worms we've got? Do you remember how many we've got? How many are there?
1, 2.
Okay, close your eyes because here comes the bird. All right, have a look. How many worms are there?
1, 2, 3.
How many did the bird get?
1.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Do you want to have a look? See if you're right.
No.
What did he get?
2.
How many did he get?
2.
2. Well done. Okay, let's have a look.
Where's my boot?
Yvette takes a group of children outside to dig in the ground to see what they can find.
Would I help you? Look, there's another worm there. Where are we going to put all these worms? It's got some clay. Come with me and find the bucket. You must have dug very deep to find that clay, Jack. But no worms yet.
We decided that we would look at mini beasts and start with digging and worms because there are quite a number of children that are interested in enveloping. Enveloping is the play pattern where you see the child that digs, hides things, looks for treasure, buries things, and we felt that would be a good starting point because we've just had half term and it's very hard to know how the children are going to come in, therefore hard to plan for the beginning of the half term.
Do you think it'll like being inside?
Yeah.
If we give it some earth, they might. What about these 2 little baby ones?
Take this out. Take this off. Oh,
Is that where we're going to put them to take inside?
yeah. Look, clay.
This one's moving a lot.
Who's got your bag?
There.
Hey.
It's all cold. and-
They might be family now.
They might be, mightn't they?
Yeah. Look.
How many do we need in a family?
No. Let me just count. 1, 2, 3, 4. We need 5. One more 5 because there's 4.
Okay, well, Jack might find one because he's digging really deep.
Yvette is amongst the children, picking up on their excitement and interest. We gave her a digital camera to record her thoughts about the experiences provided and how these developed over the following few days. Yvette reflects on what the activity meant to different children. Huey, whom we met earlier, has moved on considerably.
Huey very seldom writes, draws or paints, so it was really good that he actually did that. So he really was getting into using the pen. for a purpose and therefore using his fine motor skills, which he seemed reluctant to do. Cindy thought, after talking to Cindy after the session, she wondered if it was a follow-on from the day before where she'd had him on the computer painting the worms and realising that he could actually control, and if it wasn't quite how he'd expected, it didn't matter, it was still very acceptable. But it was just lovely that this little boy has suddenly broken through where he wouldn't do anything like painting, drawing and writing, has suddenly decided that this isn't so bad after all, I can do this. So I was really pleased about that.
Nicholas and Alex have found mini beasts and have handled and talked about them.
I was watching Nicholas and Alex and they were playing with the magnifiers, looking at the mini beasts. What did interest me was that Nicholas, when Alex gave Nicholas one of the caterpillars, Nicholas sorted them and said, this is the dad and this is the baby, and Alex joined in with, no, this is the baby and this is the dad and this is the mummy. It was quite interesting that they seemed to put them in categories according to the family. The family of worms the day before always seem to come back to their things that are familiar to them, that they're the things that they relate to really well.
Where did you find this?
We visited the nursery again 2 weeks later. Yvette and the team have planned for more outdoor learning experiences linked to the enveloping schema.
Dig.
The children have been invited to find buried treasure from written maps and other clues placed around the garden.
The boat then, Antonio. Oh look, it's got an arrow pointing down. Down it's pointing. Look! I found some treasure. Who's that? That's Huey. Well done, Huey. Huey, what are you going to do with your treasure?
My pocket.
Why don't you? Oh, you found some.
I've got a
Well
big
done.
pocket here.
Why don't you go and paint a box for it?
I've got a big...
Find a box to keep your treasure in.
I don't need that.
That one was stone.
Oh, no,
You found some, Jack.
around it.
Oh, good.
I'm going to put it on the box.
You're going to put it in a box?
Discussion and reflection are an important part of the day's events.
They found lots of treasure. They used their maps, and I was getting them to actually make a mark where they'd found the treasure so that they knew that they'd found it, and they were actually making crosses.
Jacob, do you see Huey's arrow?
Yeah.
Can you do one like that?
There were 1 or 2 children that were desperately trying to draw arrows.
Oh.
Yeah, there was Huey and I think it was James, but 2 of them that particularly wanted to draw the arrows.
Did they achieve it?
They achieved it in as much as you could see it was an arrow. It wasn't actually a point. It was kind of like this.
That's really interesting because right at the end of the session I had some maps and Huey came to look at it and he did draw a perfect arrow.
Did he?
Yes.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Well, I told him it was very good because you could actually see where it was supposed to be going, even though it wasn't a perfect point then. But that's good, isn't it?
Oh, that's really good. You can make it point whichever way you want, can't you? Just by turning the paper round.
Yvette continued to reflect on how things developed using the digital camera to record her thoughts.
He can make
Another good thing about this particular morning, this particular session,
make it point
was
to
that
you.
James was allowed in with their play as well. And that's James with his map going to the coach. And here's another picture of them all together looking at the map. And I suggested to Huey that he could come and draw the map to show where he's going, so they didn't have a big map to open each time, and took a photograph. Of Huey in the garden drawing his map. And he was showing Jacob, look, here it is on my map. Let's find it on your map. And there they are, playing beautifully together.
We had an interesting half-term last half-term because half of the group were new. So we had half very young 3-year-olds, and so as it's...
At Walhall, Yvette is a member of a reflective team. She's able to build upon every session by sharing her detailed observations with other colleagues. During the period when we filmed, Yvette has been able to identify significant learning and development for several children.
They've come back fairly settled, I think, you know, early.